afternoon, our esteemed viewers. I welcome you to this week's community show. In this show, we address and talk about issues that impact communities, issues that affect our day-to-day lives. And today's topic is on gender-based violence. It's not a new phenomenon on this show, and neither is it something that is uncommon in our society. Now, police reports over 50, almost on a daily basis or every year reports that over 50% of women face violence, physical violence. And those ones who actually face violence that is not necessarily physical are even more. As we saw during COVID, about over 70% of women who use social media faced some form of violence, against them. The situation is even worse with children and young adults. It has been reported that young girls, about 35% of young girls in, I think that was the 2021, faced sexual violence, and that is quite, that means 35 girls of every 100. And we believe the number was even much higher during this strict times of lockdown. Now, to address many of these issues and to help us understand the situation, I'm joined by Marion, Athieno, and David Armstrong. These will help us understand this phenomenon, and as is our norm, we shall devise means of ensuring that this is capped and we lessen the burden on women and girls. You'll begin by introducing yourselves, then we shall begin the conversation. I'll start with you, Marion.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this engagement. It's quite it's a topic that's very real given the circumstances that we are in today. My name is Athieno Stella Marion, and I am a communication consultant, but then I am also passionate about women empowerment. I am passionate about working with youth and children. And that's why I'm here today, because the topic you're discussing is close to my heart. Thank you so much.
Okay, David will join us in due course. Marion, help us understand what is meant by or what gender-based violence means, for starters, so that we expand the conversation.
Okay. So gender-based violence is really violence targeted at individuals or groups on the basis of their gender, okay? And the World Health Organization defines gender as a biological or physiological characteristic. That's either you're a man or you're a woman. Then gender itself can also be defined as a socially constructed roles, behaviors, activities, and attributes that are given by society, or that society considers appropriate for men and women. And that's where we come from, gender. And then because society has assigned certain roles to the different genders, the aspect of inequality also comes in. And that's where gender-based violence finds its roots from the fact that society has promoted gender inequality. So it's said that at least every woman in her lifetime has experienced some form of gender-based violence, because it's manifested in different ways. Usually it's categorized into interpersonal and then structural or institutional violence. So for the interpersonal violence really has to do with, it could be also categorized into, it could be sexual violence, it could be psychological violence, it could be economic violence. It can take on so many other forms. In most of our societies, most people, when you talk about gender-based violence, the first thing they think about is physical violence. But like I stated, violence can manifest itself in different forms. Let's take an instance, physical violence, that most of us are maybe closer to. It's what we have seen because it's something that you can actually see. Let's say maybe someone causes harm to another person, they beat the person, they do things that harm them physically. It could be assault, it could be manslaughter. All these things have manifested in our society and we know them because we can see them. But then there are things that happen behind the doors that we never get to see. For example, sexual violence, whereby maybe the man maybe gets mad at the woman for not accepting to have sex with them, or for demanding maybe to use protection. So many men get aggressive in such instances, and sometimes we never get to hear about these stories. I like how you started and referred to the COVID-19 pandemic, where we had everyone seated home and there was a rise in violence associated with sexual violence because of that. Then the other one is psychological violence. And most times as people, we never get to see this because it's not something you can touch. It's not something that you can see unless you're present. This is where there's another person causes psychological harm to an individual. It could be defamation, it could be verbal insult, it could be harassment, it could be concession. All these are forms of violence that we need to familiarize ourselves with as a society to be able to fight them. And lastly, for me, there's economic violence. Okay. So this could be violence in form of maybe denying someone something that they are supposed to have. It could be a man not taking economic responsibilities for what he's supposed to be doing. Those are all the ways I would want to look at violence in this case. Yes.
Thank you. David, are you there? You've mentioned a number of things, Marion. Of course, you've helped us demystify this term, and you've broken it down to us, including the various forms of violence. And you've also emphasized, that violence is not necessarily physical alone, but it also takes on other forms. David, do you have something to add on from your perspective on what gender-based violence is? Oops, David has disappeared. Okay. Okay, so yeah, possibly the network is. I want you to now help us understand the situation. How is the situation like when it comes to gender-based violence in Uganda? What do we know, as the situation stands?
Okay, I think David was trying to say something. Yeah, I'll let him talk first. Yes,
David, we can hear you. Yes, are you?
Yes. Good afternoon, viewers. I was getting issues with internet, but I think I'm now loud and clear. Could you please repeat your question again? I didn't hear you quite well.
From your perspective, what do you think a gender-based violence is and entails?
Basically, gender-based violence is, and especially to women, as is our debate, is anything you do to the female gender, be it physical, be it anything that is done unto them because of their sex, because you perceive them to be vulnerable, or because you don't look at them to be at equal footing with men. It takes many forms. It is psychological. At times it goes financial. At times it deals with all forms of exclusion from different aspects of society, and it is big, especially in our sector. Even when I wasn't hearing you very well, but you made reference to what was happening during COVID times. There were a number of cases of gender-based violence, and especially because there were many issues going on. To begin with, gender-based violence, especially in our sector, the primary cause, in my opinion, is poverty. In many cases, when finances are not going well in the families, and then of course, men have duties to fulfill, have obligations they should meet. And as a result of these constraints, financial constraints, they cannot meet these demands. If it so happens that they are living with women, with wives, who cannot understand such changes, such situations, then this will automatically lead to gender-based violence. In most cases, if a man cannot fulfill his obligations, and even out of shame, out of that feeling of inadequacy, his inability to fulfill his duties, he may end up losing his senses. And if anything happens between him and the wife, then men always resort to to violence as a way of shutting these ladies down, or as a way of protecting their positions as men, if it has been threatened.
Martin, if I may add on to something
Yes.
David has just said.
Yes,
I think most times when you're looking at violence or gender-based violence, we tend to focus more on the interpersonal violence. But like David has mentioned, we also have the structures or institutional violence. These are the things that have allowed for violence to continue being in place, just like he has said. The fact that society expects women to be subordinate to men, economically, socially, politically. So usually sometimes men take advantage of that to continue perpetuating violence in society. So I just wanted to add that society has encouraged it. Yeah.
Yes, and also to sort of add, something little from my understanding to what David has said. He has given his perspective on gender-based, violence, and mainly stated that it is violence mainly against women. That's true. Yeah. However, I saw that coming. Yes, it's mainly because, I think this is historical, because his definition is informed by the history of violence against women, because society has has put much pressure on women, and society has always been unjust towards women. However, gender-based violence is essentially broader than just violence against women. It's generally violence based on someone's gender, and gender is many things, including what society perceives or what society constructs as gender. So, but the historical, but this definition has been largely informed by the historical injustices that women have undergone, and that's where David is coming from. However, it's encompasses much. Exactly, it's broader. And now, yes, Marion. No, yes, as you add on the definition, and this, you will also take us into painting for us what the picture is, like for.
Okay, I love the fact.
In Uganda.
Sorry, I love the fact that you've broadened the discussion to not only just women, but also to include men in the conversation, because sometimes we tend to just focus on the women because, like you've mentioned, it's historical. It's women that have highly been marginalized in this case. But also we are starting to see more cases of men being also abused in families, because women are now rising up. But as a society, we have to condemn gender, no matter how it is dressed or no matter how it comes. So I think that's something we have to do as a society. Going back to your question, to paint a picture of what's happening in the country, if you've been following the news, or if you are someone that's constantly maybe reading up on gender, you would note that the cases have been on an increase right from COVID-19 or even before that. According to the UNFPA report, they say that the number of gender-based violence cases increased consistently from 79,888 in 2018 to 82,401 in 2019. That's like a 3.1% increase. That's quite high. It means there's something that's wrong about society that needs to be set right. Then the same report also says this again increased to 90,489 by 2020. So we don't see a decrease, but instead there's an increase in these cases every day. And by January to June in 2021, we had about 48,650 gender-based violence cases. And on a monthly basis, they were recording 1,142 and then 38 cases daily. Looking at these statistics, it's very alarming that the cases keep increasing and we don't see a decrease, and yet we are putting in so much work. I know NGOs are putting in the work, government is putting in the work. It makes me wonder, where is the problem? Are we actually tackling the problem in the grassroots, or are we just whitewashing the problem at national level to make people think that there's actually progress on the ground? So the cases keep increasing, and every day, if you keep seeing in the papers, someone has been butchered, someone has been beaten. All these forms of things are quite. It pains my heart for what the kind of future we are building. Are we actually getting there? Is there more that needs to be done? So for me, it leaves me wanting that there's still more that can be done on the grassroots. Yeah. Over to you, David.
Thank you, Marion. You see, gender-based violence is so broad. It is so broad, and I would want us to also reflect on why it appears like an African concern. Even when we have gender-based violence in these European countries, the Western world, it is not as serious as it is here. We have cases of child marriage, and which I do not think exists in most of these developed countries. We have exclusion of women from certain means of survival. For example, in our setup here, if you met a woman, a lady riding a border, the chances are that you would somehow despise this woman for doing this job. This is part of gender-based violence. If you look at our jobs, our job industry, there are some ladies, you know, if a lady goes for an interview while she's pregnant, there are many chances that this lady will lose out in this interview because she's pregnant. And yes, yet pregnancy is part of us as men. I mean, it's part of us. Instead of using it against anybody, we should actually be understanding enough. But you see, this is not what happens. So gender-based violence is something very broad. And I think it is something, it is a concept our society has not had enough sensitization about, apart from, you know, maybe institutions of higher learning, But even when it still exists, that's why we have, you hear lecturers sexually assaulting ladies, harassing ladies for marks. We have had these cases. That is why we have cases of even law enforcement officers, the police, harassing ladies sexually, especially if they are like prisoners and things like that. So it's a deeply rooted problem that our society has not had enough sensitization about, even when there are many efforts, that you mentioned about. However, as you very well put it, gender mainstreaming now, from our history, it is something that has affected women more. That is no doubt, we all see it. However, things are changing. If you now go to institutions of higher learning, I'll give Makerere as an example. Makerere has a department that handles gender mainstreaming. And this one specifically handles the girl child and provides her with some privileges. I think there are some scholarships which these ladies get. And I have got a feeling at some point we shall find we have attended so much to the female gender and somehow neglected their male counterpart. you
oh my God. Yeah, please go on.
And I am not feeling jealous, but even when we have this big problem for us affecting ladies largely, I think there is some need for balance now, especially in certain aspects like education, such that at one level we do not need now to address issues of men having been left out in one way or the other. We need to have a balance of in some situations. However, also we need to be very strict and very keen and very serious on some of these practices that have persisted against women. Very serious. We need laws, serious laws. We need women that come out and stand strong against these abuses, against these forms of oppression and violence, such that we can have a society where both men and women can live together, can work together, can compete for all opportunities together, can do all sorts of jobs, where a woman can go to Kampala tax in the tax park, start a tax business, drive it and make money, where you'll not meet a lady on the construction site, maybe carrying bricks and things like that, and then you are going to have a certain perception. We need to do away with some of these attitudes, so that you can have a society where both genders can live in peace and at equal footing.
Thank you, David.
Yes, thank you, David. Yeah, indeed, and that's quite powerful that you state it, and you've also brought in something quite important, the fact that there's been quite focus on the girl child, the woman, and in a way the boy child or the man has is likely not to receive this kind of information, receive this kind of training, and perhaps change for the better. Because as experience has shown, a lot of violence, a lot of tensions that women experience come from the man or the boy child, And if we are going to only prioritize the lady, the woman, the girl, and it's without putting a lot of emphasis on the boy child, you'll find very, very good women, good ladies, but coexisting with terrible boys, terrible men. And so it's important that we demystify, in talking about gender violence, gender-based violence, that we demystify manhood, maleness. What does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to be a man in a society where women are empowered, in a society where girls are emancipated, you know, so that we do not have many of those tensions, because as we realize that many men, many boys, whenever we talk about issues of gender-based violence, women emancipation, when we are talking championing for the rights of women, many men feel pressured. They feel they sort of feel a sense of as if they're being neglected. And again, that is what we need to address, that prioritizing women does not make someone less, or does not make a man not enough. And in any case, what does it mean to be a man? Okay, so all those things have to come into play, because in my experience, being a man is not necessarily having authority over another. You know, as has always been seen, that, oh, man means head of the family, man means leader, man means, you know, not, you know, that the overall supreme. No, I think man is those are the wrong perceptions that people have put on this. And men, we shouldn't shy away from conversations that have to do with this kind of gender-based violence, this kind of gender-based definitions and connotations, because we are afraid. We shouldn't be afraid, because we lose nothing when women are free. We lose nothing when women are emancipated, because what makes a man is empathy, is sensitivity towards others, is, you know, concern, is letting others be, you know, as opposed to loading it over others. And I have noticed that someone does not become less because others are more. So I think what David says is very important, that also men have to be made to understand that, to understand what real manhood means, what being man means. So I want to, now come again back to you, Marion, to, yes, weigh in on what, again, David has said, but also point to us things that can make us better, you know, as society, to move beyond this perpetual song, you know, of gender-based violence. Let us stop gender-based violence. So what, one, you can tell us what has been done, you know, to stop this, and what can be done further. David, you pointed to us a picture, you gave us actually the statistics. The statistics are quite damning, you know. We still have this thing persisting. We still have gender-based violence persisting. David has also actually given us scenarios, I mean, a situation that even in institutions of higher learning, where people are expected to be better, you know, this is happening. So over to you, Marion.
Okay, I love where this conversation is going, that for us to solve gender-based violence, we need to put on lenses that just don't see gender. They should be seeing human beings as human beings. Those are the lenses that we need. And we need to be objective in the way we approach this subject. I wanted just to share some experiences. I've known some men that I know were being sexually assaulted by their wives, but this is not something that society allows men to speak freely about, okay? Men are brought up in a way that they're not supposed to talk about certain things that they face in life, but that's how society has conditioned our way of thinking. So we find that most men are in marriages that are being harassed, but because historically we know harassment is for women, but I feel like as a society, we need to embrace talking about these conversations openly and offering free spaces for the people that undergo things like that, for them to be able to talk about it, okay? And I also wanted to share an experience. I remember long ago, I think when I was at campus, one of those days when I actually needed money so much, I went to work at a construction site. I had to leave in 1 week because there was a lot of harassment. Just like you mentioned, most men or society has conditioned us to think some jobs are only for certain people, and then when you don't fit that kind of bill, people tend to want to harass you in that kind of situation. Coming back to the question that you posed, what has been done and what can be done? I'll start with what can be done. I like focusing on the future because I feel like the government is pushing on the law side. We know we have so many laws that are inactive. As a government, we are good at passing out policies and laws, but the problem is in the implementation. I'll give you instances where someone close to me was being abused by her husband, and every time she would go to the police station, they send them back to resolve it because this guy would pay money to the police station. But I also know there are people in the law that are doing the right thing, but then sometimes they're overshadowed by people who are not doing the right thing. So there is need for stronger, should I say stricter implementation of the law. We need people who will actually uphold the law. That has to be something that's worked on from within the organization for it to be able to trickle down to the ground. Like it has to start from somewhere. The leadership of this organization have to set a tone on how things have to be handled so that even those that are implementing on the ground can do exactly what they're supposed to do. In terms of what can be done, I believe this is an issue that has to start with individuals. It also starts with the family. We all know each of us belongs to a family. Each of us is born into a family. Each of us is grown from a family. Our families have an important role to play. In Africa, we are social beings. We don't walk alone. We do life with other people. So your family is the first immediate people that are supposed to groom you, that are supposed to nurture you to become the person that you're supposed to become. So my call would be to families to groom the children, that's both girls and boys, to become people that actually respect each other as human beings first, and also understand the importance of what it means to respect each other and what their role or how they complement each other as they grow up. They should get an appreciation of being male or female doesn't make less of the other, and how they can live harmoniously in future, even when they starting their own families. So I believe family has an important role to play, but sometimes I feel like in today's society, because of the economic pressure and everything that's happening, most families have left children to grow up on their own. So children grow up not knowing what healthy relationships are, not knowing what being in a healthy marriage is. So the family needs to set the first example for their children or for the people that are within that family. The next responsibility is on the society or the community. We can't have communities that pay a blind eye to things that are not okay, to dysfunction. As a society, we tend to encourage dysfunction, but as a community, if we are to eradicate this thing of gender-based violence, we have to start with not being blind to when certain things happen and only waking up when it's happening to certain people. So it's important that there should be grassroots sensitization, and the way to do that is to go through the leaders on the ground and work with them and make sure communities understand that this is something bad and this is something that needs to change. Because we don't live in a vacuum, we live in a community of people. So the change needs to happen, needs to start from somewhere, or needs to start with someone somewhere. And that's when it trickles down to the entire community. The next thing, of course, would be now at a national level, the government, all these partners like the NGOs, we need to keep pushing for policies that work for everyone. we shouldn't be gender blind. We should push for policies that benefit everyone in the community. Like you mentioned, the focus has mainly been on women, but in the process, we have now men who are feeling left out and who are feeling not good enough, and they need to assert they need to assert themselves by beating women to show that they are powerful. Because men have been ignored for such a long time. For the last decade, 2 or so, men have been ignored. And now we have dysfunctional men in society, and we have women who are emancipated. And now there's a disbalance whereby everyone is trying to assert that, you know what, I am the better one. The other person is like, I am the man, I am the better one. But if we can have also more focus on grooming men, let's have mentorship. Let's have mentorship programs. Let's have discussions. Every now and then you'll hear women's conference for this, women's conference for this, women's conference for this. I never hear about men's conference apart from the Stingy Men's Association. Like, that's the only conference I hear about. Like, seriously, if you have these conversations, the only conference I hear is, we are having the Stingy Men's Association. We are having this and this and this. But you don't actually hear conferences that are targeted, or workshops, or it could be anything, activities, engagements that are targeted at men. You can't empower one side and not empower the other side. You're going to have a dysfunctional society where everyone is trying to assert that they're more powerful. So we should approach this thing in a way that we try to empower everyone, to bring everyone up, so that no one feels like they need to prove themselves to anyone as they become young adults of this community. I think that's what I would contribute to this. Over to you, David. I know you have something to add on, so please take it away.
Yes.
Before David comes, thank you, Marion, thank you for that. Although I thought you lied a bit when you said long time ago when I was in university. I don't think it is long time ago.
Yeah, it's like long time ago. That's like 7 years ago. It's long.
Oh, that's not so long. Anyway, over to you, David.
Okay, thank you, Marion. Marion has said much. I mean, she has given us, a clear picture of how the situation is and what can be done about it. But I wanted to mention that gender-based violence is something we can handle only if, as men, we get to understand that because we are the perpetrators as a society in which we have grown, a patriarchal society. We are the perpetrators of this practice, and therefore a lot is on our side. If we are to change this, one tool that can change society is understanding. Society needs understanding. Society needs respect, not just of women, but respect for everybody. You do not need to perceive anyone in a manner that despises them, in a manner that makes them appear less human. As human beings, we need understanding, we need respect, we need tolerance. But most importantly, in solving this practice, we need empowerment. One reason why women have endured and faced this for this long is because in many ways they are vulnerable. What am I saying? Most women are economically kept away. Their chances to be economically self-sustaining are very limited, and that puts them at the mercy of men. So to begin with, we need to empower our women. And this is a message to everyone out there. Empower your children, empower your girls, empower your wife, because an empowered woman is not likely to be subjected to some of these forms of harassment, be it physical, be it psychological, because one, she knows what to do, and two, she also knows the best way to get out of it, just in case she finds herself entangled in some of these situations. As part of empowerment, our society needs to educate educate children. Education is important. Even when I mentioned that even in higher institutions of learning, there are cases of gender-based violence. But if we were to go by statistics, the majority of victims in our setup are women that are not highly educated. And therefore, education provides some remedy for this vice. Women need to be empowered economically. One cause of intimate partner violence, one of the causes in the contemporary world is poverty, where you find a man is working and this wife entirely depends on this man for her survival. As a result of this, a man will tend to look at this woman as his child, just because this woman is not in position to help herself economically. And therefore, it's very important to encourage our society to find means of helping women to be economically empowered. Because when this happens, then they are able to overcome some of many forms of physical violence, many forms of domestic violence, many forms of harassment, and things like that. And maybe to mention, I was looking at statistics globally. 38% of murders of women are committed by an intimate partner. 38% of murders of women globally are committed by an intimate partner. This is very serious. And therefore, all our viewers out there, it is very important to be aware of the relationship in which you live. Because in the recent past, we have seen many cases of murders, even in our own society here. I was reading about a soldier, I have forgotten the name, who burnt his wife. This is a military office burning. This is an extreme case of gender-based violence. I haven't followed up the case to find out how this ended, but this was in papers, I think about 2 months back. And therefore, it is important that society gets to know the magnitude to which gender-based violence can go. So that if you find yourself entangled in a relationship that may end up in such unfortunate ways, then you seek for guidance. Maybe go to report to law enforcement officers. The statistics also show that daily 38 cases of gender-based violence are reported daily. 1,142 cases are reported monthly, cases of gender-based violence, and 48,650 cases are reported per year, cases of gender-based violence. I think by record, this could be the highest number of cases that our police reports on a yearly basis. And therefore, in cases where you feel you are living in a situation that has gotten out of hand, you are living with a man with whom you can no longer relate, you are living with a woman, because like Marion mentioned, men, the reverse is now true. Men too have become victims of this ugly practice. But most important, I need to repeat, our society needs sensitization. We need understanding of one another as men and women, as human beings. And then once that understanding has been established, I can guarantee you we shall be able to overcome most of these cases of gender-based violence. Martin?
Okay, thank you very much. And we've come to the end of this show. I would like to give each one of you 1 minute to make your parting shots, maybe a call to action, a call to encourage all of us to maybe be respectful, or whichever way you want to put it. I'll begin with you, David, then Marion and we.
Thanks, Martin. It's been a nice debate. It's been a nice discussion. My parting shot is simple. To all of you, all our viewers out there, you do not need to we are human beings to begin with. We constitute humanity, and for me, that's the most important thing. I don't look at myself as a man and then look at my wife as a woman. I look at my wife as a partner, and just like the same, I look at them as your aunts, look at them as your friends, because at the end of the day, we need to respect women, much as they should respect us as men, but we need to respect women. This is a unique creature. This is a resilient creature. In most cases, these women go through a lot. You find a woman who is in a home where she is not provided soap. They are resilient people, and what they need is love, understanding. And once we establish that, then we can do away with some of these cases. And once that happens, we have good children, we have good families, we have a good society, and we are progressive.
Thank you.
This is my message, and thank you. Nice weekend.
Thank you very much, David. Over to you, Marion.
Yes, I would just like to reiterate what I said earlier on. Each of us comes from a family. Each of us belongs to a unit of a family. Family has an important role to play in our lives. My appeal is to families to groom their children in a way that they'll become responsible and citizens of the country. Because if you're groomed well right from childhood, we will not have all these problems. It's much more harder to make a tree that's grown up right than to groom it when it's still young and point it to the direction of how things are supposed to be done, okay? For those who may come from dysfunctional families and now you're grown up and it's too late to make some of these changes, remember, the change starts with you, okay? It has to be something that you decide and say, I am against any form of violence and stand for it. And as a community, we have a role to play. You can't see a dysfunction happening in your community and you just pay a blind eye to it. Because it may not happen to you today, but you don't know what will happen to you tomorrow. So when you see dysfunction, when you see something that you don't believe in, when you see something that's not right, speak up. And when these people speak up, believe them. If it has never happened to you, it doesn't mean it will never happen to you because we don't know what the future holds. But let's stand up for injustice. Let's stand up against gender-based violence in whatever form it comes. Because you don't know, it may be the person closest to you. It may happen to you yourself. So you don't know what will happen. So stand up for it and be against it. So as an individual, you have a responsibility to play. As a family unit, you have a responsibility to play in grooming your children to become citizens that, won't tolerate such behavior, whether girls or women, just like David said. We should raise up our girls to be more independent so that they know what to do when certain things happen. But we also need to groom our men to do better. Then as a community, you should be watchdogs of your community. When things are happening that are wrong, please speak up. It's the only way we tackle this issue. Otherwise, we shall keep on passing laws and policies, but the implementation will never be at 100%. But we owe it to one another, to watch out for one another and speak up when things are wrong. I just want to thank you, Martin. Thank you for this panel discussion. Thank you for inviting me as a guest. And I hope these are the conversations we need to continue having to just change the mindset of people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear panelists, for that. And you've enriched this debate. I've picked quite a lot. I've loved hearing from you. The audience certainly is loving to hear this conversation. I like it that, David, you said people in relationships should treat themselves as equal beings, and we should lessen on the use of these terms that have had power imbalances attached to them for a long time, wife, husband, head of the family, and then the other one is the subordinate, and I like the fact that you use partner, because it's a partnership. It's you are together in this as equal partners, and that is how you look at your spouse as an equal partner in this. The marriage or the relationship cannot be without the other. You all mutually reinforce each other, and I think that's quite powerful. And also, society, as people, we need to cast aside some stereotypes that we've been having for a very long time. There's a time a friend of some friend asked me, because of course they know about my views when it comes to feminism and women, and they asked, Martin, who do you think is the head of a family? I told them, what do you mean? I've been raised by a single mother. Why would I? What answer do you expect? It's a woman, of course. And I mean, yeah, they expect that answer, but it's shocking. Many people would say I'm going against the traditional understanding of family. But let's face it, these are the things that have retrogressed by us defining roles and casting them in stone. Yet circumstances are different, yeah. And from my experience, I've seen many families where the woman is playing a more active role of leadership, as actually very, very stable, even when the man is there, like many men have become that secure, because it is, if you're secure as a man, you don't feel threatened, you don't feel less enough because a woman is taking on a lead, an active role. I have seen many families where women are empowered, where women are led to be active, very lasting. These marriages are lasting and they're doing well. I asked, there's a friend of mine who is from a European country, and I asked, how come your marriage has been successful for so long? And said, my husband has sort of let me be active. That's how our marriage is active. And the man does not also feel threatened. He enjoys to see the lady, the wife, very, very active. And I thought, oh, wow. And it also has roots actually in the African family setting. We had matriarchal families where women were more leaders and played active roles in traditional families. And it worked really, really well. But because of colonialism and all these many things, then there came the strong patriarchy that is reinforced by capitalism, which are all these evils. But as I close, I will share a story that I don't know whether it's true, but people keep on saying it, that when, of course, Anglicans or Protestants came before Catholics. So Kabaka Mutesa was the king then, and then as when one Protestant missionary heard that, oh, Catholics are coming, and Kabaka Mutesa has invited them, he went and told Kabaka Mutesa, oh, you know what? Why are you allowing those people, the Catholics, they worship a woman. Why are you allowing them, That is to mean Mother Mary, the Virgin. Then Kabaka Mutesa says, oh, they have a woman in their liturgy. Oh, that is good, because even me, I love my mother so much, and mother is Namasole in Buganda, the mother of the king, plays a very significant role actually in the Buganda kingdom. So it is said that is how Catholicism, or that is how Kabaka Mutesa allowed Catholics to come, because he liked women being at the center so much and being in leadership. I don't know, historians can controvert on that, but I am trying to show how much even our traditional societies prioritize the issue of women so much, and we should continue that way. And lastly, we have laws in place that talk about gender issues that are against domestic violence. We have a whole law on domestic violence. Employment laws. Our employment laws mandate each and every employer of about 25 people and more to have a sexual harassment policy, to have all these policies that promote gender balance and equality of genders in workplaces. The Constitution of Uganda prioritizes respect for women, prioritizes and guarantees the rights of women, and mainly as a marginalized group. It also talks about affirmative action and among other things. So we have good laws, we have good policies, like Marion said, but we have to now act on them. We have to be respectful of each other. We have to know that all of us are in this together. We are equal players. Each and every person, you woman, man, child, girl, boy, name it, all have an equal responsibility to make this world a better place, and each one matters. No one should be made to feel less, because we are all in this world together and we all contribute to it significantly. We all matter and we are all enough. Thank you very much to our conversationists. Thank you very much to Center for Constitutional Governance and Civic Space TV for bringing together this community show. I have been your host, Martin. I have had Marion and David as conversationists, and they have reinforced this discussion very well. Hope to see you soon. Have a blessed week. Ciao.